Unlike some other topics I made videos about, adventure guilds aren't really a trope of fantasy as a whole. Originating in pen and paper RPGs, adventure guilds or similar organizations are more commonly associated with video games, manga and anime instead of regular fantasy or pen and paper settings. Adventurer guilds tend to be easy and lazy ways to hand out adventure hooks. Bureaucratic organizations that rank the adventurers and hand out quests depending on their ranks. The Pathfinder Society might be the most well-known of those adventure guilds, considering it's the name-giving organization of the entire Pathfinder system. The Pathfinder Society exists to collect knowledge and uncover the mysteries of Golarion, the continent of the Pathfinder setting. Said knowledge is written down, curated and partially published to the public. They are basically everywhere and have connections to many powerful people in Golarion. Venture captains assign tasks and act as plot hook distributors. The Pathfinder Society is nothing special, but it's the prime example of an adventurer guild in the classic sense. But in today's video we'll add some spice. Hello, I'm the Worldbuilding Sage, and in my videos I show you how to breathe life into your world. No matter if you're world building for your pen and paper setting, your book, or just for your own personal enjoyment. In this video I talk about adventurer guilds and similar organizations. Adventurer guilds have a bad reputation in world building, but I'd say it's an acquired taste, if you know how to make them interesting, of course. So think of the bell curve meme where I'm the Chad posting this video and the complainers about adventurer guilds are the Spike. Yes, imagine this. Despite my general defense for the adventurer guilds, I'm not a big fan of how they are portrayed in video games, manga and anime. Neither am I a big fan of the Pathfinder Society or similar organizations. One thing I prefer in the Forgotten Realms compared to Golarion is that the token bloodhook societies in the Forgotten Realms are more than simple adventurer guilds. The Harpers, for example, are the organization who's resembling a classic adventure guild the most, but even they have a certain set of political goals they try to achieve while being a semi-secret organization that doesn't really act in the public eye. So here's the first way to make them more interesting. Give your organization a goal that goes beyond simple adventuring for the adventuring's sake, even if it's an organization like the Pathfinder Society that are after knowledge and the mysteries of the world. Make them bias at least. Good examples for that kind of bias are 19th century universities and their archaeologists and anthropologists. Funded by the colonialist states, they ventured out to bring glory and prestige to the homeland, not to further imperialist ideologies on how they are supposedly bringing civilization to the savage colonialized. And this, of course, grew out of the circumstances of real world's 19th century. So think of reasons why your own nobles, rich people and others may fund scientific societies like these. Pro tip: magical worlds bring magical mysteries with them, which may be of interest for many people of power in those magical worlds and societies. But don't think you'll get away with making the organization's goal vague and broad. Not on my watch. Those organizations need specialization. Split your organizations apart. Make mercenary companies that go to war in war times while fighting bandits and monsters against cash in peace times. Make scientific societies or universities. Make some sort of grey robber organization that is in for the money only, going into ancient tombs and selling whatever they find as antiques. Make organizations that are in it for the greater good. The goody two-shoes organization that wants to protect people. That's still specialization. There are many ways to make an adventure guild into more than what they actually are. And if these organizations aren't strict state monopolies, make competitors. Especially mercenary companies or privately funded organizations may have many competitors on the same field that compete both for commissioners and targets of interest. Think about the relationship between those organizations, and I see the possibility of unregulated monopolies not intended by the state. Especially in those cases, mercenary work might be a total pyramid scheme. A pyramid scheme is the only way I see a pure and classic adventuring guild to make money. There's another possibility for a more capitalistic approach on adventuring guilds. I'll present such an organization that fits the classic definition of an adventuring guild the most in my own setting. exciting, so keep watching. And if you got so far and enjoy my video, consider leaving a comment about your own ideas for adventuring guilds and how to make them a bit spicier. And of course, leave a like and subscribe. To build your own organizations, you should keep a bunch of questions in mind you can ask yourself, which again birth a bunch of new questions that keep the building process flowing. I already talked a lot about the first question you should ask yourself when creating an adventuring guild, so I'll keep myself short. What is your organization's goal? What is their purpose? Who funds your organization? How is it funded? And who are the people that have their stakes and interests within the organization beyond the members of the organization, of course. Question 1 in turn answers question 2 right away. What is your organization's specialization? What is your organization known for? How many adventure organizations are there? And what are their relationship to one another? What is the competition like? Is it more hostile or is their rivalry relatively fair? Hyper specialization could be a thing if there are a lot of organizations. And now think about the general organization of your organization. How many members are there? How many of them are actual adventurers and how many are organizers or bureaucrats or something? How is your organization structured and what is its hierarchy like? Who are the leaders of your organization and how widely spread are their people? So let's get to the final question. Recruitment. How does your organization get new members? Adventuring is a very lethal profession, so the turnover rate might be pretty high depending on the type of your organization. Are the members of your organization trained and specialized, or are they gathering the dregs of society for their dirty work? Today we create 2 organizations. One is an already fleshed out part of my setting, and the other one exists only as an idea, on paper. The first organization resides in the most serene republic of Talmar, which is in the northwest of the kingdom of Norik-Maslosnik, which we usually fleshed out until now. After the bankruptcy of the Talmarian Royal Venture Company, a massive trade company charter owned by the previous Talmarian crown. But after the bankruptcy, the company's belongings split into many private hands. The venture company hired mercenaries to protect the charter ships and caravans from pirates, monsters and other dangers. A tradition the today's trade venture insurance companies kept. Those insurances are funded by the stakeholders that invest into certain wares the ships promise to return, hoping to cash into the profit. Those companies are purely profit orientated and do everything for an extra coin. Lately those companies began offering extra services, which is nothing more than elaborate grave robbing on foreign land. While the ships lay in harbor, the mercenaries hired to protect the ships swarm out and gather artifacts from all over the world to auction those artifacts off to the highest bidders at home. But it is only a matter of time until those practices will become more discreet, at least, as the traders and stakeholders at home realize that these actions are discrediting their own names. Most of those insurance companies specialize on certain trade routes, but for every route there are a handful of companies that compete with each other, and they are very competitive, even turning to dark rituals and curses to sink the other company's ships. Or the mercenaries engage in straight up combat in foreign harbors. But they can't afford losing too many of their members to company conflict, considering each company isn't that large in the end. Most have enough members to ensure maybe 1 or 2 ships. The largest not getting beyond 5 they can ensure, as companies start using curses and other bad magics to keep down large competitors en masse. The adventurers themselves mostly act as employees to the insurance companies and barely have a real stake in the company itself. Lastly, recruitment. Well, those mercenaries consist mostly of the former Landsknechts that all lost their job after the kingdom turned into a noble republic with its own standing army. Those mercenaries were known as the most formidable fighters in the country, but simultaneously as the most rowdy and barbarous. Our other organization is closer to a detective bureau than an actual adventurer guild. In the grand city of Pulesia, which is part of the magocracy of Basilea, inspired after ancient Greek kingdoms Rome and Byzantine Greece. Pulesia is a partially autonomous city and both the richest and poorest city on the planet, and probably the one with the most social issues as well. The city is also referred to as the sick old woman on the sparkling isle. The city's government barely keeps a hold of most crime or magical shenanigans that happen in the city. Many bureaus open to combat both crime and magical happenings. One of those bureaus are the Astral Striders. They formed out of mutual interest and are mostly funded by the members' own personal money and the occasional rich beneficiary, as they don't ask for anything but a good meal for their services. The Astral Striders have one goal, and that is to keep their city safe from both evil magical beings and from crime. They made many enemies over the years, but also a bunch of friends. They aren't necessarily Robin Hood-like figures, but they tend to see the issues of the city's corruption thanks to their work. As each member is part of the richer families of the city, their chances to work in favor of change is there. But the oligarchic nature of the city's government keeps even them down. There are a handful of similar organizations in the city, but there are not nearly enough for any real competition. In Pulesia, the commissioners compete over the detective bureaus. Rivalries are personal at best too. The Astral Striders have 10 members, 4 of them being non-combatants, while the others, including their leader, partake in the commissions. Despite having an official leader, they don't have any real hierarchies, and they don't really recruit either, as the organization grew out of a group of friends who went to the same academy, all of them being young and relatively bored aristocrats who literally have nothing better to do and try to mitigate the sick city's symptoms instead of curing the city's diseases. So that's it for today's video, world builders. Tell me about your adventurer organizations in the comments and leave a like and maybe subscribe. See ya!